How's it going? It's Kevin Kenny, and welcome to a brand new edition of the Hollywood Reporters in Studio series. My guest today, as you can already see on your screens, Mr. Marc Maron.
Yeah, that guy, me.
What an intro.
Huh?
I said, what an intro. What fanfare for you.
It was tremendous. You went straight to the point, no credits, just assumed that there'd be familiarity.
They know who you are. You're a popular guy, Mark.
I am in some circles, not with everybody. I'm at a level of, I'm sort of a mid-level celebrity, which means that that there could be like three guys walking towards me, like one of them be like, holy shit, it's Marc Maron, and the other two guys be like, nah, don't know that guy. And it's fine. I'm happy that the one guy knows me. I've learned that I don't have to stand there while he tries to explain who I am to his friends. That's not a great situation.
Is that part of the deal?
No, because I'm standing there and he's going, really? He's been around for like 30 years, you know, Glow, his own show, his podcast, nothing? They're like, no, we don't know this guy. And that's when I'm like, I'm going to go. This part's not great for me. I don't need to, it's not helping me feel good about myself. I'm happy you like me, but your friends are kind of assholes, that kind of thing.
Now, would you rather be that guy like you are, where some people know you, some people don't know you, or would you rather be just totally, omnipresent famous?
Like Kanye?
Yeah,
no,
would you rather be Kanye or Mark?
No, there's a couple of reasons I don't want to be Kanye. Yeah, you can't do anything, you can't go anywhere. I don't have that. My fans are generally pretty sensitive, respectful people. They're not, I don't attract a lot of meatheads. If I do, they're just doing that as a front, and they're generally polite people. So, and I'd rather that. I'd rather have a life than be insulated. But I imagine with that higher level of fandom, of celebrity, comes much more money. So maybe you don't mind being insulated when you're like, I'll go out to the pool, or maybe I'll just spend some time in the boat that I have in my pool, because that's how big it is.
Yeah, that sounds like a good investment of money, putting the boat in the pool.
Well, when you get to that level of celebrity, you become a crazy person.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't live a normal life. You can only go out with certain people. Like those at that level of celebrity, like they have to hang out with each other because they can't go out in the real world. So it's not unusual to see some weird mixture of people just hanging out together. Like, why are they friends? Because they can't live a regular life.
Right.
So they have to call each other and go like, can we just hang out for a little while?
Did you see that happen to any people that you were coming up with in the industry back in the day? They go from normal people on the come up to just, they
superstars?
They can't even do anything.
Did I come up with any superstars like that have been kind of crippled by celebrity? Not really. I'm trying to think. Do I have? I mean, who are those people? There's like 10 of those people, right?
Well, you tell me. Who do you consider to be in that?
Well, they're just people that like somehow or another cross all spectrums.
Yeah, like a Kanye.
Yeah, like everybody knows who he is.
Right.
And he's a genius, and and he gets a lot of press. But do I know somebody that stayed at that level? I don't know. I've interviewed a lot of people that I think are pretty mega stars. On the podcast. I just talked to Josh Brolin. Mm-hmm. Maybe he's not at that level, but maybe he's he's almost at that level. I've interviewed, who are some of the biggest stars that I've interviewed? Stiller came over. Who have I had on there that, like, it feels like a lot of musicians, Neil Young, like those people are pretty omnipresent. But I imagine there's plenty of people that love Kanye, millions and millions, that know not one Neil Young song. So it's all relative.
Yeah. Why do you think you weren't a wrestling fan as a kid? Because I feel like wrestling is sort of a rite of passage for a lot of young guys.
Certain type of kid, yeah. I don't know. Like, I wasn't a sports fan. I wasn't a wrestling fan. I wasn't a fantasy fan. I wasn't a sci-fi kid. Like when I was a kid, I was just sort of like, I want to smoke cigarettes. I'd like to play guitar. I'd like to be able to talk like a smart person. I'd like to be a poet of some kind. Like, it was just this different world. Like there were guys that were sort of like, do you ever read Arthur C. Clarke? I'm like, no. And then there were people that were like, do you like wrestling? I'm like, it's stupid. And then, and then there were the guys who were like, what's up, man? I'm like, cool, nothing. So,
Smokers, yeah.
Whatever, just I had more of a sort of a hippie kind of rock and roll sensibility than the kind of like comic book, wrestling, or the complete nerd out, chess club, Dungeons and Dragons thing.
Right. So you were that kid that was like, that's stupid. You just called BS on it really early?
I don't know. I don't remember it being as present because I'm 54. So wrestling, when I was a kid, they used to have local regional wrestling in Albuquerque, New Mexico, that would come on TV on Sundays. And it was pretty much a kind of a unitard kind of thing, like just dudes wearing one pieces, bleeding, and with this little weird dude that looked like Colonel Sanders interviewing him, and then they just run around a ring at a veterans hall, and you'd be like, what's happening? So it wasn't the same wrestling that you probably grew up with, which was huge arenas, big characters. These guys looked like they were desperate and fucked up. So like it didn't really grab me as a kid. Like I remember going to Skaggs Pharmacy and seeing wrestling magazines, and it was just dudes with bleach blonde hair and blood all over them. That was like on every cover. But that was the level. It wasn't Hulk Hogan. It wasn't nothing like that.
Right.
So it didn't have that. So it wasn't even available in the same way it was available to probably people of your generation. Because WWE didn't exist.
Yeah, at that point.
It was all regional weirdos.
So you take the role of Sam Sylvia, of course, on Glow, and when you first take it, I understand it can be traced back to an iPhone video. You actually made an iPhone video of your audition. Is that right?
Well, yeah. What else are you gonna do? What am I gonna send a Betamax? So here's a VHS. Do you guys still have it? What happened was I got the script, and I thought that I'd finished shooting done with my show, and I was kind of looking to do something that wasn't inherently me. And I got the script, and I thought I could do that guy. I related to the script. It was well written. I understood the guy, understood the character. So they told me they weren't really looking at people in LA. That was what I was told. There's no one to read for. So why don't you put yourself on on video, and we'll send it in. So I have this woman who's like kind of my personal trainer person a few times a week, and she's an actress. So I had her read Allison's part, and I had my part-time guy who works for me as an assistant. He just took my iPhone, and I went out and got a Lacoste shirt and some aviator frames from the ladies who own the glasses place down the street, and because I thought like Lacoste is sort of timeless. It was there in the 80s. So, and then I did the scene. I read it like 3 times, put a little work into it. And I sent it to the agents, and they sent it on, and they booked me off of that.
I mean, that ambition, though, for that role is kind of wild, right? Because you think about it, that sounds like something that like an up-and-coming actor in Hollywood would do. They'd be told, no, we're not looking at anybody in LA. They'd get their iPhone, they'd go to the store, they'd get all those things, they'd turn their personal trainer into an actress.
I didn't get the sense that they were like, no, we're all done looking, or no, we're not.
You seemed like they were open, or they seemed like they were open to
They
it.
didn't know what they
You
wanted.
okay.
Yeah, it was just that, I don't know, like, if they had someone in mind, or where they were with casting with the women. It was just sort of like, I don't know if it was Genji Kohan or what. They were just, it wasn't that they weren't looking, they just weren't reading people. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if they had someone on the line for it, but from what I heard, when Genji saw me, she was like, that's the guy.
Yeah.
And the showrunners were like, we don't know if he can act. And she was like, no, that's him. So it wasn't like, it wasn't that ambitious. It was only ambitious in the sense that, the material resonated with me. Because I don't go on a lot of auditions. I'm not really desperate or chasing anything. I don't, I'd done my own show for a few seasons because I wanted to do that. And I just wanted to try to get, a part. But I wasn't like, oh, when is it going to happen for me? It was more like, oh, this is good. What do I got to do? Yeah, okay. I put the work in, but I wasn't freaking out.
Right. Sam obviously resonated with you for you to go through all that, and of course you related to the character, but what specifically, if you could nail it down about Sam, do you think spoke most closely to you?
Well, just that he was like delusional about his place in the world, and he was sort of a little beaten up, that, he thought that he was something that he kind of wasn't, and that he'd taken some hits, and he's his own worst enemy. I like the idea of a guy thinking that, it's only a matter of time before everyone realizes he's a genius. Because of the important type of films he's making, but he's so desperate he has to take this gig to get to. I kind of got that he'd had his time, and it wasn't much of a time, and he was running on fumes, and I can relate to that. Yeah.
Is that you before the podcast takes off?
Yeah, I mean, but before the podcast, but I don't know that I'd achieved something. I think Sam had done something that had gotten him enough attention for him to think that he was on his way. Like by the time I started,
you've done things. What do you mean you hadn't done anything?
Yeah, but it wasn't like I hadn't put anything in the world where people were like, let's kind of keep an eye on this guy. Maybe I did 20 years ago, but it was primarily stand-up, and I was respected, and I seemed to be on TV a lot, but I couldn't really sell tickets, and I was sort of looking down the barrel at a life of B clubs and being an no-name headliner, relatively speaking, but I understood the ego of Sam and sort of the kind of pretending, or not pretending, just innately assuming that you had control of things when he didn't really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because a guy like that can take a lot of hits, a guy like that can be humbled, you know, and that's the beauty of it, that you're going to find feelings in that character by him, you know, being taken down a notch one way or the other. And after season 1, he definitely takes a big hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was listening to you on the Jim's show, Jim Norton's show,
Yeah.
and Sam's show over on Sirius
yeah.
last summer, and you were saying that you don't consider yourself to be a professional actor, and that's, again, a year ago before the accolades and before the recognition, and of course before you shoot season 2.
Right.
Do you see yourself as a professional actor more now than you did then?
Well, you know, over the arc of the podcast, like I really started talking, once I started acting, like I think that I always wanted to act, and I certainly did training here and there in college and classes here and there. But at some point, I took it off the table because it didn't seem like it was going to happen. And I wasn't one of these people that could, you know, spend years in an acting class doing scenes with, you know, other people who were like, any day, you know. And I was a comic, you know, and I was busy, you know, kind of like getting beat up in that world. I knew that I had, like, I can be present, you know, in the scene. I knew I could do something. But I think, you know, after my show, I was a little more confident because I knew the first season would be rough because I've seen a lot of my friends go through it where you don't really know how to be on stage or, you know, on a set or, you know, doing the thing. So I was like, I'm on IFC, no one's really going to see it. So, you know, I can learn, you know. And over the arc of the 4 seasons I did of Maron, I kind of learned, you know, how to write, how to produce, how to be on set, you know, how to, you know, make corrections, make choices as an actor. It was like on-the-job training. So by the time I got to Glow, that was all familiar to me, the nuts and bolts of being an actor in a television show. But there was not the same pressure. It's like I didn't have to write it, I didn't have to produce it, I didn't have to worry about money or none of that. You know, I didn't have to worry about budgets or getting a thing done on time. It was just like, here's your script. I'm like, thank you. I'm going to go to my trailer and get my pants on, and you know, and you know, so I'm obviously an okay actor, but I don't know that I could, you know, play, you know, I'm not going to put on 30 pounds to play a normal person. You know, I'm not going to, you know, I'm probably not going to be great at accents. You know, if it's within my range, I can do it. Though I'd like to take some new risks with acting. You know, I'm trying to find something I can do that doesn't require me to just be a lovable asshole or just an asshole.
But, I mean, Betty Gilpin on the show called you an amazing actor. She used the word amazing. She also called you a cross between a curmudgeon sea captain and the happiest, sweetest boy on Christmas morning.
That's touching, actually. Well, you know, the thing about working with them, you know, with Allison and with Betty, because I have more scenes with Betty this season, is that I'm not, like, I don't pretend that much. So when I'm in a scene, you know, I'm very emotionally, you know, sort of available. I'm not, you know, so good that I can fool people, like, you know, he's really doing a good job and I'm just thinking about what I'm going to eat later. So I have to be there all the time. So like and Betty can sort of see through me because they, you know, once the cameras are off, you know, I'm not a bad guy once you get through the, you know, the minefield.
Where are we going to find Sam on season 2, episode 1?
Well, Sam, like after at the end of season 1, gets pretty humbled, you know, in a way that whatever his big idea was, you know, doing Glow to get money to do his next big movie. Well, it turns out if you watch the first season that apparently his next big movie has pretty much been already done, and there's actually no money for him to do the movie. So now, like, he has to accept that, you know, Glow is now his job, and it is what he's doing. And through a certain series of events, you know, he gets a bit humbled. You see, you know, he gets there's a little more emotional depth to Sam, and you know, relationships get tighter and more interesting. And there's a lot more wrestling, and there's a lot more Betty, and you get to know more about some of the other women. And but Sam, like, you know, goes on a little journey. You know, you find out he's got a daughter that's already in her teens at the end of season 1, and you know, that relationship gets a little attention. The relationship with me and Allison, you know, gets some attention, and it evolves a bit. Same with me and Betty, and certainly the actual wrestling, and you know, that gets more involved. And there's a little, like, you know, it's a lot of new stuff, whole new arc this season.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, well, there you go. June 29th, it's available everywhere. That's season 2. Marc Maron, engaging, yes. Entertaining, we have no idea. But thank you very much for watching, and thanks for stopping by, Marc.
Thanks, buddy.